In today's Tears of the Kingdom video, I'm going to show you some of the best money farming methods you can do early. No longer do you have to suffer not being able to afford even the most basic of items and instead high roll like a king. You'll likely get over 10k rupees in less than an hour with these, so let's dive right in. Now, the first one and the easiest in my opinion is to complete the flight training challenges for Canali. In this one, you have to go through a bunch of rings, and the more you can score, the higher the amount of rupees you can receive as a reward. You can find this NPC at the flight range just northwest of Rito village. But of course, I recommend fast traveling to the nearby Skyview Tower and dropping below, since that's much faster. Also, this one also opens up once you finish that part of the regional phenomena in Rito village, so make sure that you complete that first. Now, once that's done, you can talk to Canali to start his first beginner challenge before you can unlock the more advanced training. This luckily is quite easy, as all you have to do is to collect about 15 rings to qualify. Once that is done, just talk to him again, and now you'll notice you can start doing the advanced training instead. This one will be a bit trickier, as you have to collect 35 rings for the maximum reward, but this will provide you with 300 rupees for the first completion and 100 for the following ones. So to make sure you always get 35 rings and complete this in the shortest amount of time possible, start with a normal glide through the starting 4 rings and then keep it to your left side. From here, my suggestion is to always dive through the most spread out rings and then ascend upwards through the ones set in a column. This way you can more easily see the ones spread out as you're skydiving and have better control over the columns on your way back. You'll have to do this back and forth 3 times while trying not to smack into anything, but it should be really easy and you should master this in no time. And by the way, at the end, my recommendation is to go through the column first and then skydive into the remaining ring so that you can get the fastest timer. This is basically what you'll want to farm on repeat. There's no limit to your attempts and you can easily grab 100 rupees each run after the one that gives you 300. Minus, of course, the 20 cost of participation, so an efficient run takes like 35 seconds and gives you 80 rupees at the end. So 15 minutes of this, you're looking at very least 1600 or just over 6000 if you're doing it for 1 hour straight. But of course, you might get bored doing this for this long, so here are a few other alternatives that work even better. The next one is not too far off from here, also up north in the South Bantha snowfield in the area just around the nearby stables, which is pretty popular of a spot right now as it gives you up to 10k rupees per hour with an efficient run. But to make this efficient, there are a few things that you'll need first. One is to make sure that the regional phenomena in Rito village is completed, otherwise I don't believe these creatures even spawn. It's the same one needed for the previous method, so you're kinda shooting 2 birds with 1 stone. Second, you will need frost resistance, which if you got the archaic worm greaves like I told you previously, go ahead and do so on the starting island since they are plenty for this. Otherwise, you can just hit the sky islands at the start of the game, grab a ton of spicy peppers and cook frost resistance food. And third of all, you will need arrows, which you get quite plenty by breaking these wooden boxes also around the sky islands and other similar locations, or you can buy 20 outright from the shopkeep back in the lookout landing by interacting with the ones at the tables right here. Once you're done with that, you can head over back in the snowfields and just hunt for the mooses and the bears spawning super often, especially around the trees and the small forests in this location. They both drop the raw gourmet and the raw prime meats, which is what you'll basically sell once you cook them for hundreds of rupees each. You'll of course want to do headshots no matter what, since it's the only way to take them down instantly and it also saves a lot of arrows. That's why it's best to use a horse, since it lets you quickly jump into the arrow slow-mo effect and do this more efficiently. And the best part is that the fauna always spawns after going back and forth just a few hundred feet, which means you can circle around the area and do this all day, as there's going to be an infinite amount of mooses and bears spawning here. Heck, sometimes they'll even spawn right in front of you, doing the job for you pretty much. But once you've got a nice stash of a few dozen gourmet and prime meats, it's time to cook them into meat skewer. You'll want, of course, to use 5 of each of these specific meats for each skewer so that you can sell them for the max amount at the vendor. Of course, you don't really want to mix and match these, just keep it simple, gourmet with gourmet and prime meat with prime meat, and you're gonna get like the best possible results. Of course, the gourmet variants are much better and as such are more expensive. In this case, they also provide like full on recovery, which makes them great in the end game too, or once you get a lot of hearts and whatnot. Meanwhile, the other one only gives you like 15 hearts recovery, but it's not too shabby. The difference when you sell them is, however, quite significant. So for the ones coming from gourmet, you sell them for 315 rupees, while the others for just 135. But really, it doesn't matter because you're looking at 7k plus per hour, if not like less than an hour. I think it took me just over 40 minutes to farm all of these. And if you're going for a full-on hour, that's 10k at the very least, if not even more if you get lucky with the spawn rates. Oh, and by the way, in the same area, you're going to see a lot of these horse riding enemies with bows and arrows. You can quickly farm these if you're lacking any and grab theirs instead to use for hunting. And there's plenty of icy lizard foes in the area too that you can also farm and grab some amazing fusion mats like the ones with the ice element. But this is not all. There's a couple other methods that I want to show you that can get you even richer. One, you'll probably see a lot of these blue shiny bunnies called blupees in your travels. Yeah, just like in Breath of the Wild, shooting these poor creatures multiple times will make them drop more and more rupees each time. The more damage that you deal, it seems that the more they will drop. They do, however, despawn really quickly, so yeah, you're gonna want to enter that slow-mo effect and shoot as many arrows as you can before that even happens. Basically turn them into arrow porcupines before they even get a chance to react, and you should get the maximized reward. And this brings us to the final method, also repeatable, which you can find in the most southeast corner of the map at the Eventide Island. To reach this in the first place, you will want to use the sky islands closest to it, and don't be like me, bring a flying wing or something, because if you go with a paraglider, it's going to be a bit more difficult. Here you can talk to these two NPCs at the top of the mountain to start a certain challenge that you can repeat, but before you can do that, you first need to complete a 2-mission side quest chain. So to do that, you have to start talking to Sesame, this NPC next to this tent back at the beach level. He'll tell you there are 3 pirate camps on the island that need to be cleared out, which you'll easily spot as you move through the island. So do that, and once you're done, go back at Sesame to finish that up and start the second and final mission, which will bring you to this hidden cave onto the opposite end of the island. So you'll have to reach that by dropping from above using the glider and then reaching around until you enter this cave with the big skull and the ship in the middle. And then you're gonna want to clear some of these enemies. They should not be too difficult. Plus, there are plenty of these bomb flowers you can find on the island. Once that is done, you're gonna want to head back up the mountain where these 2 NPCs are located and start talking with them. This will start a brand new flying challenge, which has you land a gliding wing as close to the center of these circles as possible to get the maximum amount of rupees as a reward. This should not be too difficult to do since the distance is enough to perfectly align with it and get in the center every single time. It really doesn't matter where in the center you land as long as it's in the final and smallest circle. However, if you completely suck at it, you can also use the recall power to stop mid-air and then resume it to fall straight below, in the middle hopefully, and get 100 rupees each completion. Again, minus 20 for the cost of participation, but this also takes quite shortly to complete, and you should get thousands of rupees just like the previous ones. And that is pretty much it with the methods. Let me know down below which one of these you found out or if there's any others that you know of. In the meantime, thanks so much for watching, and until next time.